Hello folks, my name is Al the Wolf, and welcome to Wolfy's Cameras. This is a video series where I take old school cameras, weird cameras, and cheap plastic cameras, and I take a bunch of cool photos of furry events on film. In today's episode, we're going to be using the disposable film camera. This is Fujifilm's Quick Snap Flash Camera. The very first disposable camera that came out back in 1949 was Photopack. This camera is made out of cardboard. Then later on in 1966, a French company called Fex introduced a disposable Bakelite camera called Photopack Montage. Then later on in 1986, Fujifilm developed their own plastic disposable film cameras. These cameras have an on and off flasher switch, a flasher, a viewfinder, cheap plastic lens, exposure counter, film winder, and shutter button. But how do you load film into this camera? Actually, you don't have to load film into these cameras because the film is already loaded in these cameras. But I know you're thinking, okay, how do you use this camera? First thing first, you gotta turn on the flasher switch. Then you gotta crank up the camera. Then look at the viewfinder, aim at your subject, and click on the shutter button. And presto, you took a photo of your subject on film. Yeah, this camera's not that hard to use. It's basically just a point and shoot camera. But what's really interesting about it is it's lightweight and it's really easy to use. So right now, we're gonna take this camera to a furry convention to basically take photos of furries on film. So we're gonna let our good friend Bio take over from here.
Hello folks, my name is Bio and we're gonna go downstairs to take photos of furries on this camera. So I hope you enjoy watching this video. So we still got some more film in this thing. Let's see if we can find some more people out there. If you ever go to BLFC, like some people don't know about this, but there's actually a mascot to this convention. And some people probably think it's Prometheus Bear. No, it's not Prometheus Bear. It's actually that guy. So right now, we're gonna take a photo of him. The alligator guy, we gotta get a photo of him too.
For a disposable film camera that costs around $15, I'm surprised the image quality is not that bad. But I was expecting this camera to create the whole Lomo effect on film. Now, for those of you who are not familiar about Lomo effect, there are some old plastic cameras out there, or old cameras out there in general, that create the whole Lomo effect on film. But I was a bit surprised that this cheap disposable plastic camera didn't create the whole Lomo effect on film. But the only good thing out of this camera is it does create the whole lo-fi and retro look on film. So if you're the kind of person that wants to work on, cool retro projects, or if you're working on some kind of album or some special project in production, this camera's great for that kind of project. But if you want to use this camera just for fun, for, like taking photos of friends or fun things at events, then yeah, this camera's great for that too. Now, I know some people are thinking, okay, can you reuse this camera again for, other projects? Well, believe it or not, there are some tutorial videos out there on YouTube that show you how to reload film back into those kind of cameras again. Even when Bio tried to do this, he realized that there's a downside to it.
Okay, so let me show you the issue with these kind of cameras. As you can notice that, after you're done, taking all the photos, and you take out of it, you recognize that there's a sharp piece right here on there. Basically, that's a gear to the camera. Now, if you look inside of this camera, you notice that, there's a gear right there too. So when you put this in here, and then basically wind it up like this, you can see that the bottom of this thing is moving. That means you're able to wind up the camera, in the film. Now, if we take the film out of the camera and replace it with a new film that has no, gear symbol thing inside of it, and we put it in here and then wind it up, you can see that the thing on the bottom is not moving. So therefore, you can't reload new films to these kind of cameras, which, sucks.
So basically, it's useless, or you would have to make some kind of modification to that camera. So yeah, this camera is only great for one-time use only. That's why they call it a disposable camera, because it's only made to be used once and that's it. But if you want to get a disposable film camera that you can reuse over and over and over again for fun projects or photography projects, you can buy these simple use cameras from Lumography. Basically, these are disposable film cameras that you can reuse over and over and over again. So yeah, if you're looking for a reusable disposable film camera, you can buy the simple use camera on Lumography. But if you want to use a disposable film camera for one-time use only and that's it, you can buy one of these at pharmacies or retail stores in the US. Or you can simply buy these online, but yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that if you don't want to buy any disposable film camera online or at pharmacy stores, you can just go to a thrift store and buy one of these reusable plastic cameras. But I don't know if these cameras will create the whole Lomo effect on film, but basically they're kind of like disposable film cameras, but you can reuse them over and over and over again, and they always sell these at Goodwills or thrift stores in your local area. And some of these cameras have flashers on them too, so they probably take AAA battery or AA battery. But before you buy these cameras, always test them out first to see if these cameras are still good. Because if the shutter and the flasher works, you can still use that camera. But if the flasher is broken and it starts smoking, then you don't want to use that camera. So remember, before you buy a cheap plastic camera at a thrift store, always test it out first. Anyways, let's get on with the reviews for this disposable film camera. Okay, so this camera is lightweight and easy to carry around with. It takes 35mm film. This camera has a built-in flasher, which is great for taking photos of subjects inside buildings. And the image quality on film is not that bad. But I've noticed that the film quality is a little grainy, but that makes the image look more retro and cool. Now for the rating of this camera, I would give it around 4 stars. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the camera is really easy to use, the quality of the image is not bad, and I like the whole lo-fi and retro look on film. But I'm a bit surprised that this camera has no shutter speed issue. But I'm a little bummed out that I can't reuse this camera again for fun projects in the future. But as for now, I'm just hanging on to it as a collector's item. Alright folks, before we end this episode, I want to give a huge thank you shout out to Dan Fox and KK for helping me out on this project. Without their help and support, we wouldn't have this episode on YouTube this month. And if you guys want to support me on this photography series, here on YouTube, you can by helping me out on Kofi or Patreon today. Both links are in the description below. Alright folks, that's about it. Thank you all so much for watching this video on YouTube, and have a wonderful day guys, alright? Peace out, and stay awesome.